This video is sponsored by Skillshare. As most of you probably know, Saturday Night Live is a sketch comedy show that airs live Saturday nights on NBC. It's known for having a celebrity guest host and also a musical guest on every episode. Or at least it was until we apparently angered the gods and now no one's allowed to leave their houses anymore. This year they released 3 remotely produced quarantine episodes and then ended the season early. But the new seasons of SNL usually begin in the fall. And it's already August? Really? It's never gonna end. Hi, I'm T1J.
Follow me.
This video, like most of my videos, would not be possible without my members and patrons, including homies like Otieno Ododa, Tracy and Sandy, Victor Stone, and Morgan King. If you'd like to support the channel, you can become a homie yourself by clicking the join button below the video or by checking out my page on Patreon. So, SNL is fine. Most of the people who are hired for the show are already experienced comedians and performers, so the comedy is usually solid, if not safe. The show has some leeway for off-color and dark humor due to its late-night time slot, but overall it manages to avoid any major controversy, at least with regard to the content of the sketches. Which is actually interesting given how often SNL makes jokes about politics or the political climate of the day. It's a long-standing tradition for the SNL cast to lampoon the never-ending lunacy provided to us by American politicians. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if a resemblance to or ability to impersonate a relevant politician was a major factor in whether or not you get hired for the show in the first place.
I'm buying this newspaper.
That's all right. There's nobody around. Go ahead, take it.
Now, the early seasons of SNL often commented on social issues like racism or poverty, but in the 80s and 90s, the show settled more into developing its zany recurring characters, most of whom were decidedly non-political. But I think most people would agree that the more recent seasons of SNL have been more overtly political than ever. Not only do they impersonate senators and satirize recent political events as always, but many of their more recent sketches directly comment on pressing issues like poverty and mental health. And like I said, the show's fine. I rarely find myself falling over laughing or feeling like I've watched something mind-blowing, but it happens sometimes, like with the Black Jeopardy sketches, which I think are amazing. SNL had previously aired a series of popular Celebrity Jeopardy episodes starring Will Ferrell as a jaded Alex Trebek reading embarrassingly easy clues to exaggerated celebrity parodies who were nevertheless too brainless to ever get any correct answers. Black Jeopardy is a little bit different. The contestants are exaggerations, sure, but they're not celebrities, they're regular people. I remember when the first Black Jeopardy sketch aired, my first instinct was, oh, this is a ripoff of Dave Chappelle's I Know Black People sketch. You know, the fictional game show where people were asked questions about black slang and black culture. And maybe there's some inspiration there. Part of the humor of the Chappelle sketch was the inclusion of non-black people who were often clueless about black culture despite their often flimsy connection to the community. Characters such as the Asian grocery store owner or the white professor of African American studies, the latter being an idea that was actually rehashed for the Black Jeopardy sketch. But while Chappelle's game show asked people to recall lyrics from the show Good Times or to identify early 2000s black slang like badunkadunk, Black Jeopardy zeroed in on a specific unspoken understanding that black people have with one another. The first Jeopardy clue of the sketch was the simple phrase, "She thinks she cute." The correct reply was, of course, "Who is Monique?" And I remember laughing unexpectedly the first time that I heard this. It fits in with the absurdist, almost non-sequitur style of comedy that SNL often embraces, but also at the same time, it reflects the aforementioned mutual understanding. I knew I was in for a treat at the very beginning of the sketch when Kenan Thompson's character introduces himself.
I'm your host, Alex Trebek. Now I'm just playing.
That seems like a joke that some white writer would have come up with in the 90s or something. So it kind of set up the fact that this wasn't going to be your typical lazy racial humor. So the setup of Black Jeopardy is that there's a black host named Darnell Hayes, played by Kenan Thompson, who says about the show, "We finally got our own." There are also two black contestants who seemed extremely tuned in to the conceit of the show. They get every answer correct, no matter how ambiguous or vague the clues are. And as I said, this references the shared experiences and language of the black community. One thing I like about this sketch is how it manages to capture ideas that haven't become cliche through overuse in pop culture. A lot of the language and culture of black people has been adopted by white folks. So it will be hard to do a real life Black Jeopardy because most everything that's associated with the black community is eventually stolen by white society anyway. But with clues like "she do hair" and "had that been me, I would have whooped his ass when he was young," it really feels like these lines were written by actual black people and not some white writers that were overusing terms like flex and lit. Ironically though, the Black Jeopardy idea was conceived by Brian Tucker, a white guy who is the co-head writer of SNL, and who incidentally used to be a writer for Chappelle's Show and actually appears in the "You Know Black People" sketch. So again, there's probably some inspiration there. Tucker said in an interview with Vulture that he grew up idolizing black comedians, and he's worked on several black shows like Chappelle's Show and The Chris Rock Show. And he got the idea for the Black Jeopardy sketch by interacting with the black people in those spaces and noticing the familiarity they had with each other that he lacked as a white person. So he co-wrote the Black Jeopardy sketch with co-head writer Michael Che with input from Kenan Thompson to try to capture this interesting dynamic in a funny way. In the Vulture interview, he said, "If you're white and you're in these worlds like I am a little bit, you're still not totally a part of things. There's a shared culture if you're black that you just have, and if you're white, you just don't have." And therein lies the main source of humor in the Black Jeopardy sketches. In each sketch, there's also a third contestant who seems a little bit out of sync with all the others. In the first iteration, this seat is filled by Mark, a white professor of African American studies, played by Louis C.K. And yeah, I know Louis C.K. It came out in 2014. The choice of making Mark a professor of African American studies reflects Tucker's point about how even if you feel like you belong in the conversation, you'll never have that shared experience with black people if you're white. Mark tries to keep up with the other contestants, Amir and Keely, played by Jay Farrow and Sashir Zamata respectively, but he never really quite gets the picture. Indeed, his failure is inevitable, especially as the final Jeopardy category is revealed: rap songs that begin with the letter N.
Contestants, you'll be answering that when we come back. I'd watch yourself, Mark. We'll be right back.
The popularity of the Black Jeopardy sketch led to several sequel sketches, all of which focus on this idea of the shared culture of Black Americans, but they all look at it through a slightly different lens. The second sketch features Elizabeth Banks as a clearly well-meaning white woman who claims she dated a black guy once and that she doesn't see race. As you might imagine, this game doesn't go well for her until she suddenly trips into a correct answer.
Like, no matter what I do, I can't win.
Yes! That is the blackest thing you said all day, Allison!
Even though this white lady is clueless about everything, she still gets to win even though she didn't learn anything. I see you, SNL. The third Black Jeopardy sketch was the first to feature another black person as the third contestant. Drake appears as Jared, a black Canadian. According to Drake, in order to play this character, he did an impression of some guys he grew up with in Toronto who had Afro-Caribbean heritage. Now, throughout this video, I've brought up the shared experience and culture of black people. But really, I'm specifically speaking about the shared experience of poor and working class black Americans, which clearly doesn't represent the experience of all black people across the world. This sketch highlights this by having Jared, a Canadian, be completely on a different page than the other contestants, even though he's also black. Ultimately, they all find common ground once they realize they share at least one experience dealing with prejudice. Now, the best Black Jeopardy sketch is, not surprisingly, also the most popular, at least according to its YouTube view count of over 54 million. The third contestant this time is a MAGA hat wearing fella named Doug, played by Tom Hanks. And when we first see this guy, we're already cringing at what he might say. But then delightfully, SNL throws us a curveball. Doug seems to know all of the right answers. Just like the black contestants, Doug loves Tyler Perry movies, he doesn't trust the fingerprint scanner on his iPhone, and he thinks the elections are rigged by the Illuminati. As I mentioned before, the whole idea of Black Jeopardy is the familiarity that black people have with one another due to their shared experience. This is evidenced by the prizes that are mentioned throughout the series, including car tape to patch up a broken car window, or top foil to cover a kitchen container with no lid. They all invoke images of poverty, which is something that most black people in America can relate to either directly or indirectly. But poverty also affects other people, including white people. And often those experiences that we associate with black folks are just as much, if not more, a consequence of class than race. Having Doug see perfectly eye to eye with the other contestants is an excellent commentary on how easily we could all come together if we opened ourselves up to the idea of listening to other perspectives and noticing that we all pretty much want the same things. We want ourselves and our communities to be happy and fulfilled and safe and healthy. There are obviously disagreements on how to achieve that, but if we treated each other like complex human beings rather than one-dimensional heroes and villains, it would be a lot easier to figure all that out. But the sketch ends soberly with the final Jeopardy category, Lives That Matter.
Well, it was good while it lasted, Doug.
Despite all of the common ground they found, Doug and Darnell will go their separate ways, still thinking of each other as political opponents. There are two other Black Jeopardy sketches as of today. The first features Chadwick Boseman playing his character T'Challa from the Black Panther movie. And it features a juxtaposition of the jaded working class Black American to a king from a fictional Black utopia. It also features maybe my favorite joke from the whole series.
Oh, hell nah, Karen. Keep your brand-ass potato salad to yourself.
The most recent Black Jeopardy featured SNL alum Eddie Murphy, who had returned to the show after not hosting for over 3 decades. Murphy was playing Velvet Jones, a character from 80s era SNL, and really this episode was just fan service for people who loved that old character. There is a bit of commentary about how SNL's comedy has evolved. Whereas in the 80s, a pimp making infomercials selling books teaching women how to be prostitutes was an edgy and hilarious idea, today it seems cringy and out of touch. Now, both of these sketches are okay, but I'd say the series jumped the shark after the Tom Hanks episode. While SNL's sketches are mostly tame, they've received considerable criticism for their frankly inexcusable lack of diversity and minority representation on the show. I obviously love a lot of TV shows and movies, but as a Black person, it rarely feels like any of this media was made with a person like me in mind. So it was a nice breath of fresh air to see something on network TV that I actually related to. And Black Jeopardy managed to find this interesting balance between discussing racial issues in a more realistic, not stereotypical way, while also providing commentary that everybody can understand. That's just me though. What do you think? I hope you liked my video, but I also wanted to let you know that I also do a live stream right here on this channel every Monday and Friday. I do a variety of things on the stream, everything from games to just chatting. I will also be doing a cooking stream soon as a celebration of reaching 50 members on YouTube. I've been doing a lot of work to try to make the stream as well as these videos more entertaining and visually appealing. And one of the tools that I've been using is the service provided by this video's sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community for the curious and the creative that offers thousands of classes on various topics, including illustration, music, business, productivity, and much more. Whether you're an excited beginner, a casual dabbler, or an expert looking to hone their skills, there's something there for you. Now, I've always considered myself an ideas guy. All the video production stuff, I'm just kind of winging it. You can probably tell. So I've been checking out this great class on Skillshare from filmmaker Dan Liu. It's really simple, well organized, and straight to the point, which I think makes it stand out from other tutorials on the internet. And that's kind of how Skillshare is. Classes are organized into short lessons, and most classes are no longer than 60 minutes in total. So the lessons are kind of designed to fit any schedule. And you can get an annual premium membership, which gives you unlimited access to thousands of classes like this, as well as a community of other learners for less than $10 a month. But if you'd like to try it out, the first 1,000 of you that click the link in the description below will get a 2-month free trial of a Skillshare premium membership. So go ahead and click the link in the description below and go start learning. And remember, by supporting sponsors like Skillshare, you not only get access to a great service, you also support me and help me take my content to the next level.